Hello, buddy. Thank you very much for loving and supporting. I'm back with another episode after a long time. I'm back with Abhay. Abhay is the founder of FRUTOX and a CA turned entrepreneur. So thank you very much, Abhay, for joining me. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to talk to you on screen after a long time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lakshit. Thank you for having me over here.
My pleasure. So before we get into Abhay, anything I ask you any questions, please help me with what you do. How did you get into starting FRUTOX? What's your idea? How did it work out and what are you doing?
So to start with, coming from a Marwadi background, uh, a tier 3 kind of place where I've taken birth and everything. So I had only two options. You take science, you get into engineering. You take commerce, you get into CA. I was never interested with science part. So I took up commerce and CA was a thing. All of my friends were doing that thing. So I started with CA.
Okay.
I went to Mumbai and everything, completed my CA, then started doing job. But I was always clear that I want to do something of my own. Like since my childhood, I'd seen a lot of business. The place from where I come, it's all business oriented place. So I always was fascinated with that specific part. And while we were growing up, startup was a thing. Like I used to hear a lot about startups and everything. So I was pretty clear that I don't want to do those old traditional businesses, but I want to do something with a little bit of innovation and maybe something which can add value to the market.
Yeah.
So after doing job for like 2 years, that too also like by pushing myself every day because I didn't want to do it, but I had to do it. But somehow I dropped it, and then I was like, let's get into entrepreneurship. But before FRUTOX happened, I did for a good 1 year. Like I was with so marketing was always my passion. I did while I was into my job phase, right? I did quit job twice to do MBA also. I appeared for CAT and everything, but then things didn't turn in my favor. I was like really disappointed with the fact. But then I just started calculating something that like if I'll do MBA, it would take up 2 years of my this thing, and then maybe 3 years to pay off that specific loan which I would have taken, right?
Yeah.
So that would be like good 5 years. That's where this Marwadi stuff got into my mind. I was like, for 5 years, if I can start building up my own business and everything, maybe I'll be settled by that time with my business.
Yeah.
So I dropped the idea of doing MBA also, and that's where I just was like, okay, then let's get into this thing. And I started with a company which was into marketing stuff. So I wanted to try my hands with marketing, like this media industry. So worked for 1 good year on that specific part, but I realized it was huge capital intensive business.
Yeah.
And you had big players. So like, to get these companies, like, so I was working with Seat Tires. I thought I'll be able to make Seat my client, right? But when I entered over there, it was like their portfolios are already being handled by some big multinational companies. And like, it's very difficult to handle their portfolio also. It's like into crores and everything.
Yeah.
So after 1 good year of struggling for that specific thing, I was like, okay, boss, I'll have to give up on this thing. And that's where like this FRUTOX thing came along my mind. So I just to give you a brief on that part also, like how did it came to my mind? So Shivaji Park, it's a very well-renowned place in the main center of Mumbai, Dadar, Shivaji Park. So I was just along with my friend, I was on that we early morning jogging we were doing over there. So we had been observing a fact over there that there was this uncle who used to come every day on a daily basis. He was coming along and he was serving juices to the people. Those juices were of the kind like Karela, Neem, Amla, aloe vera, that kind of stuff. Like what all of us have heard, being Indians, you've always heard from your grandparents and everything that these juices are more like your metabolism juices, your digestive juices. It can help you with your diabetes and all that kind of stuff. So the crowd which I used to see over there was also of 60s, 65, 55 plus kind of people, right? So after their jogging, they were done. They used to come to that uncle, have that 150, 200 ml of shot from there, and then they used to go away. So that's where we continuously kept observing that specific pattern for a good month on everything. And then that's the time when we went and approached that specific uncle. So he told us that from last 21 years, he's daily coming over there.
Wonderful.
And now you'll be surprised to know the fact that he comes in Accent car every day. And he's selling somewhere around 400, 500 glasses every day. So that's where we were very curious to know the fact that, okay, that's quite a good consistency, because it's all about consistency, and he actually has that motive of serving people.
Yes.
Right. But what we got to know that this market is quite unorganized in a sense, because he was making more of a cocktail stuff, right? He used to mix all those juices and serve it to people. So education, one specific part which we felt was missing in a sense, because all these things are like high potency stuff. If you talk about amla, if you talk about aloe vera, there has to be a certain dosage as to how much you are taking and everything, right? Because you just can't take things for the sake of taking it. You have to be very much cautious with the fact that how much you're drinking it, how you're drinking it. All these factors are like very important. So there were like certain problem statements which we tried and figured out. So one being uh, education was again, that was more of that Indian doctor in everyone out there, that okay, we should take this. But again, proper knowledge, that's what we thought was missing over there. Then there was something called as hygiene as a factor, because again, how is it happening and what's how you know that fact, like bas aise hi things are going around, right? So that's one challenge. And the third biggest challenge what we could feel was that probably only 0.1% of the population reaches out to the jogging parks.
Yeah.
There's still that 99% or 99.99% of population which doesn't happen to go over there. Like people like us, we are into gyms, more of into gyms, and that's also like maybe a percent or 2% of population. What about that 98% people? They're still sitting at home thinking they want to do something about their health, but they're not able to do it.
Yeah.
Every day they think like they would go and get a juicer also, but like after 5 days that juicer is kept at one side and not being used, right? So that laziness over there, I would not like to say it as laziness, but you don't get time, right? Our generation specifically doesn't get that much amount of time that which we can actually invest in. We have money, we are ready to try new stuff, right? It's just that we lack that specific time frame from our schedule, right? So that's what we figured out, that uncle used to come over there, but he doesn't reach it out to them, and those people don't reach out. So there's this huge gap out there, right? So that's why we thought, like, if we come up with a branding kind of stuff and we reach out, like how your milk is delivered, similarly, if these kind of juices start getting delivered at the doorstep of people, right, on the go juices, and people have to drink it, would they be interested? So that's where we started investing our more time into and all that kind of stuff. So the USPs also, what we started building upon was that cold press was one specific thing. So we started reading a lot about cold press stuff, right? The second factor, what we wanted to do was that we wanted to be into a daily manufacturing concept only, because what we understood, like something which is delivered daily, right, and if it is consumed daily, so there's a very good thing about health doesn't happen overnight, right? It has to be preceded by habit first, right? And for habit to get built, it has to be hand holded by someone, because habit is not that easy, right? So that's where we thought that FRUTOX can probably become that specific person who would do the hand holding for them by supplying juices daily at the doorstep of the person. Now the person knows after 2 or 3 hours, the juice is going to get completely off. It's going to get sour or something of that kind of stuff, right? Because there are no preservatives. So people, since they have paid, they would be like, okay, I'm supposed to drink it because I've already paid for it. And I can't store it also, right? So every day, since we come at your doorstep and we are standing there with a new bottle, right? And since you have opted for the subscription, you have already paid. So now you don't have any other choice but to drink it. So eventually, as they say, like 14 days, 21 days, it takes for you to form an habit, right? So now, since for a whole month we have delivered you, and since you don't have any other option but to drink it, you have drank it for the whole month also, right? And that's how we started getting into the daily routine of people, right? So that's where we come up with something called as, like, we are not a juicing company. We are something which are trying to build a habit for you. So that's how we call ourselves also, like it's a habit and not just a drink. So we are actually working on habit part, because habit is the most important thing. That's what we have felt. So this is how FRUTOX started, and the idea behind FRUTOX, and actually what we wanted to do with people. So yeah, and one more thing, it's totally a vegetable plus Ayurvedic herbs kind of concoction what we have been making. We are not into fruits at all, because when we were studying also, our nutritionist was of this aspect that you should try and have your fruits as raw, but you can juice your vegetables, right? And we got to know that people don't eat vegetables that much, as much they should, right? And juicing can be a good thing if you are able to make them tasty also. So that's why we started making vegetables plus Ayurvedic herbs kind of juices. And so this is the whole structure about which with which FRUTOX started, and that's how the foundation was laid.
Oh, wonderful. And yeah, that was totally right. When you said FRUTOX is not a juicing company, it's a health company, like a healthy habit. I think you also have mentioned that in your Instagram, and I think that's a very good uh, game to play. We are building your habit, and after a while, when you are trying to, nobody will leave you, because everybody has a habit. Everybody has that habit of drinking the fruit ox juice, and they want it because it's already in habit. So yeah, totally wonderful. Love the idea. Thank you very much. So when you were beginning, like I think you were also before COVID, you were also doing it in Mumbai, right? If I'm not wrong. And
Yeah.
then after COVID, you shifted to the city you were brought up in. So how was the transition? What was the problem you faced? Like, for example, you said you're in three-tier city, where I think the people have a different mindset and the people think a different way. And you were selling it in Mumbai, where people don't mind much about anything, and people have, I think, kind of, some people have enough money to spend on juices and expensive things, or even just something which is unique and haven't been done like daily, because the idea of the concept of FRUTOX is, I think, it's a new one. Not everybody, we haven't been growing up consuming cold pressed juices, etc., right? So how was the transition to, how were things in different cities, how people have looked up to it, and what are you been major challenges until today?
So the journey started in September 2019, right? So in the initial days, because since we started everything in Mumbai, right? And Mumbai is like, when it comes to all these rentals, right? It becomes very expensive. The operational cost tends to become very huge for you, right? And since you are startup doing everything bootstrapped, so in the initial days, like for 3 or 4 good months, we started with our flat only, right? So we were already like 4 or 5 friends who were living in 2 BHK kind of stuff, and over there these friends of us also allowed us or permitted us to do this kind of stuff, because everyone was living that specific dream via us only, right? Kind of stuff like, okay, let's support each other. So we started our journey from our own flat only. For good 3 4 months we were there, right? Now when we started thinking, when we started seeing the market, people were getting interested in everything, so we planned accordingly, and we, from like Jan to 2020 first Jan, we moved to a commercial establishment. Like, we took our own commercial gala, we got our machines ready, like cold press machines, the whole kind of kitchen setup and everything. So we invested good 10-15 lakh into that specific setup and everything. Our machine came like by Feb 2020, and like March 20th 2020 you had COVID, right? Like, we were completely like screwed, okay, because we were not knowing the fact that COVID is going to come. No one knew that, right? And we had invested everything of our savings, like me and my partner, like who started with me. We had kept like every month all our money onto that table, right? So now, but overnight we had to come back to our own hometowns and everything. But since we had recently taken a commercial gala and everything, everyone was telling, okay, that it's a thing of a month or two, right? COVID will go off. So everyone was being very positive enough and everything. So in that specific sense, we didn't give up on our gala for one good year. Okay, we kept on paying the rents and everything. So a good, and like when you're in Mumbai, the commercial place would have taken bomb, right? So for one good year, we kept paying from this specific thing, that okay, we'll go back. But that never happened. Okay, but in the meantime, since we were sitting idle and everything, so me and my partner, like, we thought of starting it in our hometown, right? Just thought of giving it a try. But again, we knew the fact that everyone was telling that, okay, boss, it's tier 3 city. People have ample amount of time, right? We can do juicing by ourselves. Like, we don't need people like you to do it for us. So we were like highly there was nothing left on that positive side for us to be highly motivated about, right? Because COVID happened, then you are into a city where people might not appreciate what you're doing, right? A CAs are trying to do some juice business, like, the
Yes, yes,
mindset also of
absolutely.
people, right? So what are you doing, like juice and everything? So it was very very difficult for us, like, but again, we just gave it a try. We started with 4 subscriptions, that to like some known people who just wanted to promote us. They were like, okay, we started for a month or so. But in that specific sense we started. So challenge per se, like, we lost a lot onto our capital stuff, like, because everything was and overnight, then like after a year, then we decided like, okay, we'll have to give up on everything. So then machinery and everything we had to call up from there to here, right? But the good part, what happened because of COVID, was that, one, that we started over here, and the second part, that COVID started making people realize that health is important. So the amount of, say, if we had to invest say 20 minutes we only had to invest 10 minutes per person now, because people have started realizing the fact that, okay, something like this is very important.
So it was like a win-win game. Things worked in, like, something you invested came back to you. Something which COVID took back from you, your dreams you saw in
All
Mumbai,
right.
that was fulfilled in the city you were in. So of course that's amazing. And what are the challenges now? Like what problems are existingly there with I think shelf life is one thing we were discussing. But something else, like what are the main problems you're focusing on trying to solve them? What are the problems at the moment?
So, Lakshit, the biggest problem with Indian mindset, the biggest thing is the mindset of people, right? We as Indians have born and brought up with the mindset that we are very fit people, okay? Because on our face we don't get to see like what's going internally, right?
Yeah.
So we are too, I would not say confident, like we are overconfident about when it comes to our health. That's what every Indian is all about. Okay, I won't quote it like tier 3 city or tier 2, like every Indian is of that specific aspect, right? So the biggest challenge what we face today is that when a person, say Abhay, who's age 28, right? I have to convince that person. It's very difficult because for that person, the thing is that Abhay, I'm totally fine. Why should I drink it? Like, and as Indians, we try and look up to things like what benefit this thing is going to give me currently, or maybe like next 2 months, 3 months, right? So when we said that we are trying to build a habit which might help you in long run, say maybe 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line, because we simply try and tell them one specific thing only. Boss, you have been drinking tea since your childhood. You have been drinking milk since childhood, right? But you have that psychological factor playing in your mind that if you don't drink tea, you start having headache. Is this even for real? No, but you feel it, right?
Feel it, yeah.
And these habits in long run create that specific effect. So when we started with this something called as juicing thing also, our whole aim of getting Ayurvedic herbs and everything was because we have been hearing that if you take amla and aloe vera, empty stomach and that kind of stuff, right? All these things in longer run are going to help you with, be it very small things like acidity, your digestion problems, right? Your hair fall, your diabetes, your cholesterol, right? So a person who's 28 might not have it right now, but the tendencies of having these things with the kind of lifestyle what we are living into is very prone, right?
Yeah.
You like 10 years down the line, like previously, like if it used to happen at the age of 50, now it's happening at the age of maybe 40 only.
Yeah.
Right. So that's where the whole concept of FRUTOX was that, okay, let's start building good habit. Like at least you start your day with something which is without any preservatives, which is healthy, because we know it's very difficult to give up on all those other unhealthy habits what we have been living up to, right? But if we can do a little bit for ourselves, why not? So, but still till date, the biggest challenge is that you can't make someone drink something which again is not going to show them results today in a longer run kind of stuff, right? You'll be like, okay, I've drank it for 2 months, I can't see any results. Okay, I would discontinue it now. But it's very difficult to tell them that, okay, this thing in longer run is going to help you, or if not, it's going to help you also. You be prepared for that specific aspect that you're having something healthy daily, right? You don't have to look out for all those kind of direct benefits only because something is happening internally. You can't measure it right now, right?
Yeah. Totally.
And taste for us is something like which cannot be replaced. Like for us, sugar and salt are those two addictive drugs, right? Which have played by with our tongue since so long. Now drinking a vegetable juice, right, which might not have any refined sugar. So for us, juices have been like all those sugar oriented
Sugary, yeah.
juices kind of
Yeah,
stuff which
totally.
have to be sweet, right?
Sweet, yes.
You have that mindset.
Yeah.
But early morning you're getting a bottle gourd juice or a cucumber juice with amla aloe vera to it. It's a disaster for you. You are like,
Yes.
oh dude, what am I drinking, right? So and they're like, it's a thing of 40 plus or 45 plus year old people only. It's not for us.
Us.
But the intention with which we started FRUTOX was majorly for the age of people from 20 till 40, so that we can help them maybe shift whatever's going to come to their way, like early diseases kind of stuff can be procrastinated kind of stuff. So this is a big challenge for us till date, to educate people, to make them understand that why should they drink something like this. But yeah, again, I feel India is like, we are before time. Like India is still not a juicing country. India is still more of that tea milk kind of country only. right? So it's going to take time for people to adopt to something like that.
Yeah,
But
maybe
yeah,
I think
we don't want.
after one more generation of people will come, like say after your generation passes away, our generation will be the people who will make your business a success. So I think that's
But we are same generation. Don't make me feel like too old enough. Yeah, like
I'm just joking. I'm just joking. Oh, but yeah, that's surely is gonna that's gonna you're gonna see some change in the business after 10 years for sure. So
yeah,
that
definitely.
change is gonna come, no doubt. Uh, so one more question to me to you was like when you were saying that in the first when you started there were only 4 people who are known to you. So from that 4 to how many have you grown and how did the growth happen?
So it has been like 1.5 years for us now, or maybe 1.7, right? To be very precise, 1 year, 7 months, something like that.
Mhm.
Since we have been operating in this city, like the hometown of mine, which is Pali, Marwad, Rajasthan. Uh, we started with 4 subscriptions, and now I'm very happy to announce the fact that it's been only 1.5 year, and we have reached up to 100 odd subscriptions on a daily basis,
Oh, okay,
right?
wonderful.
People would say that 100 is a very small figure, but I understand the fact that one, that it's a tier 3 city. Second, India is not a juicing country.
Country.
Third, your juices are not even sweet, right? With all these 3 factors, we have been trying and like hitting very hard with people, and uh, convincing them enough to drink it, right? Has been a biggest success story for us till date, right? And I'm very uh, why do I feel so proud when I talk about FRUTOX? Because we don't come from that doctor fraternity, right? But the way people have started looking up to us is of with that kind of status they have been looking up to us, right? Because when I get call from people, they are like, "Oh, I have diabetes, I have thyroid. Which juice should I take?" Right? So people are getting conscious in that specific sense, and we have testimonies of people now who have reported that their diabetes has come under control, their hemoglobin has increased, right? Their acidity is coming under control, right? So it's nothing with the juices what we have been serving. It's all about the consistency, and the herbs what have been going into that specific formulations is helping them coming out from all those kind of diseases, or maybe certain problem points they were having in their life, right? So that's a huge thing for us also in that specific sense.
Wonderful, wonderful. So on a personal thing, I was just going to ask you a question here. Is you are a CA, and I think it's a very big deal for many of us, and to people who come from Marwadi families, Rajasthanis, and Gujaratis, all of that. It's a CA is a very very big deal. Uh, and then having a, I think when you if you get some kind of good of experience in a city like Mumbai, I think after a while you'll also start getting a good pay. But then you come to your city back, you start selling juices. What's the reaction of people around you? What were the things you got to hear from the people around you, and how did you react, and how their reaction has changed now?
So I'll be very frank. Like it was only my friends and my family members who supported this specific thing. And you'll be very surprised to know that for one good year, I never told anyone also that I've quit my job. I had to keep it that secret enough, because leaving a good high paying job where you were somewhere around 1 lakh money you were getting credited to your account, you were at the age of what, 24, 25, good money, right? That comfort zone was built around you, like every weekend you were partying and all that kind of stuff, right? So who would like to leave that comfort zone? But since I was very clear with the fact that I want to do something of my own, and longer run, I can't be a person who wants to be into job. I didn't think about what people are going to think, right? I just got this nod from my parents, my brother, like my very close associates. Like they said, it's good. Like you just go ahead, right? And we'll take care of everything. That was the biggest thing for me to start with, right? People, when I came to the city, people like in our native language and everything, they were like ki choro bagno matlab has gone mad or something like that,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
What is he doing, right? They were not ready to accept the fact that what am I doing, like exactly what am I doing, like. But after one good year now, I'm very happy with the fact that uh, very close people who didn't accepted this fact are now standing with me, and they are probably the biggest brand ambassadors of what am I doing. And every day they are maybe mentoring me also, and then they're trying to build around my brand, and they're promoting my stuff in a sense that even they feel very proud while they're talking about something what am I doing, right? So we started with juices, now then we have got into healthy snacks, right? And now we are thinking about certain other stuff also, but again everything on the health part only, like we are trying to build around a healthy ecosystem. So all these people are taking a lot of pride with that specific thing. And I still remember one of my friend telling me this thing that you are the MSD, like Mahendra Singh Dhoni to our group, because what you are facing every day, we feel associated so much. So you just stand there, we are supporting you from behind. So that was one of the biggest compliment for me. Like I literally had goosebumps that day.
Yeah, wonderful, wonderful. And I think it's like getting support of that kind is something you would have done good. Is is when you get support of that kind.
Like I have to mention this specific thing. People might think like how I was surviving and everything. Like it's been 4 years. Obviously, that on financial part it gets difficult. Like from that specific figure what you were getting, and coming down to this specific thing. But there were these friends of mine like who paid my rentals when I was in Mumbai. They supported me through thick and they never let me ask money from my parents or anything, right? They take care of all kind of my expenses till date. Whenever I'm in need, like they're just a call away, right? I'll just have to call them and it's instantly credited into my account, right? So that's the kind of support and what I should say, love which I've got, which never let me quit also. Like I have my days like ups and downs, right? But that's the kind of support which don't let you quit. So I'm very blessed. I feel very blessed to have done something good. Maybe I don't know when, but to have such people around me.
Yeah, wonderful, wonderful. Just some more few more questions, Abhay. Like, and what would be your advice to people who are, into dilemma of this, what to do? Should I do an MBA? Should I become a CA? What should I do? Should I just leave everything, drop out right now, and become an entrepreneur? What would be your advice to them as a person who understands finances and things more than anyone else does, like more than me or anyone watching this? What would be your advice to them?
See, my advice would be very simple as to like you first is like you got to believe into yourself is one of the very simple advice also what people everyone would give them. But again, uh, like had it been to the 18-year-old Abhay, one thing which I didn't do was that while I was doing CA, I was too much into that specific thing that I didn't give notice to any other thing out there, right? But in last 10 years, the world has grown so much. The opportunities have been coming through. I don't know what other means, right? So what I do simply suggest is it's very important to get a degree also. That's what I feel like. You might think that I would like to drop out and everything. That's fairly okay with you because the only thing what you have to do is like you don't have to regret with whatever decision you take. Okay,
Okay.
you got to back that thing, right?
Yeah.
So if you're taking that decision that I want to drop out, it's completely okay. But then that 100% conviction and everything has to come from you, and you don't have to regret. That's the thing you have to do. But on my point, like if I'll have to say, it's good to take a degree, right? You can take your degree, but at the same time, if you can start hustling while you are in that specific pursue of while you're pursuing your degree, right? It's good to do hustle. Don't just stick around with one specific thing. Try and give out certain times to whatever kind of hobbies you have, right? Because these days it's very the world has changed that out of your hobbies also you can make your professions, right? Earlier it was not that easy, right? So try and do all that kind of stuff, and it's a huge world. Like you can, so making money is not difficult at all these days. It's all about how can you uh, go about it consistently and not be patient or like be get impatient about that specific thing. The consistency is one specific thing. So be at it. It might take time, right? It might take time. It might take you 3 years. To some it might take 2 years only. To some it might take 5 years, 10 years. But if you're sure about what you're doing, stick at it. That's it.
Yeah, wonderful. So thank you very much for being here. Thank you very much for joining me for a session. Really grateful to
Yes.
get back into it. For conversations with people around with their work they do. Thank you so much for sharing the journey. Was looking for this for a long time and did happen after a long wait. Thank you very much for joining me in. It was a pleasure to have you, Abhay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lakshit, for having me. And like, really sorry for I took a lot of your time in
No,
getting connected with you, because
no,
and
don't
finally
worry.
it's happening. So I'm very happy.
Yeah.
So and great efforts from your kind of a person. Like I really look up to people like you. Like at the age of 19 or 20, had I also started doing something like this. So I never regret about what I'm doing, but I just regret about the fact that
I didn't start early.
3-4 years more, yeah,
हाँ,
thoda sa aur jaldi kar
जल्दी
leta.
कर.
So that's one of the advice I would want to give to everyone. Like, don't wait for time to come. You just start with it. Time will come directly to you.
Totally. Yes, it does. Thank you very much again.